Hi. So today we got some news about the upcoming Greymoor patch that will be hitting the PTS on Monday, April 20th. I'll read through the changes introduced, give my thoughts on them, and share what some others have said as well. Here's the post from Brian Wheeler. Greetings, gang. We'd like to take a moment to share a preview of combat changes coming with Update 26, Greymoor. The full list of changes will be revealed with the patch notes next week, but for now we'd like to provide some insight on our goals. This update is primarily focused on reinforcing itemization standards, improving quality of life for werewolves, and a few adjustments regarding PvP balance. As many of you are already aware, the team recently experimented with some significant changes to light and heavy attacks. We'd like to again thank everyone who participated in the off-cycle PTS test of those changes, and remind you all that those changes will not be included with Update 26. Today we'll be focusing on the other changes that will be appearing next week on the PTS for Update 26. This update not only has vampire updates, but werewolf updates as well. We want to keep the in-your-face action of the werewolf, and also want to add rotation options when you've transformed into this ferocious form. For example, Pounce now has a follow-up attack afterwards that also has an execute scaled on bleed. We're also making adjustments to allow buffing and debuffing to give a sense of being a pack leader. Sustain for werewolves is also something we noted needs an adjustment, so Hircing's Bounty now has some added functionality if you're already at full health and you don't need a heal from the ability. We believe these changes will keep the werewolf playstyle competitive and entertaining for all players. So we'll have to see the actual numbers that they land on, but it's good that werewolves are getting some love. They definitely have fallen behind in the recent patches. About a year ago, we started our standardization pass, and we're finishing that off in Update 26 with monster masks and shoulders. Remember, standards aren't written in stone, but we now have equal measures of power and performance for these two-piece sets. Some are having their one-piece adjusted to better suit the function of the set. Valken Scoria, for example, now gives spell penetration rather than max health, as this is a damage-based set. I think this is great. I'm really happy to see them go through and adjust some of these. Valken should be a pretty nice option now, and a really good option for less optimized groups who are not reaching the pin cap already. Spell pin isn't the greatest stat line in a fully optimized group because of how much easier mag can reach the pin cap, but for most other groups, it's a really nice set bonus. Other sets are receiving functionality adjustments, damage values, trigger conditions, cooldowns, etc., to follow their intended functionality based on their sourcing. A good example of this is Tremor Scale. Enemies hit by the damaging effect of this ability are no longer snared, but instead have their physical resistance reduced. To help with performance, some sets are having their chance to proc removed and instead now have a cooldown. Again, we'll look at Tremor Scale as an example. We are removing the proc chance from this set and increasing the cooldown. Note that because the cooldown is increasing, the damage is also increasing. So we'll have to see what kind of numbers and uptimes we're looking at here, but if this is a unique physical resistance debuff and not an already existing major or minor one, this set will definitely start seeing use in PvE content. Continuing on itemization, we are also introducing Perfected Veteran Maelstrom and Perfected Dragonstar Arena weapons. This has been a long-standing request by the players, and it finally brings these two arenas up to par with others that add perfected versions. These are earned by completing Veteran mode in each one of those arenas and will have additional bonuses like other perfected sets. Completing Maelstrom or Dragonstar Arena will now grant blue versions of the non-perfected weapons from these arenas. In this pass, we are making a few adjustments to all arena weapons to meet standards. One example of this is the BRP weapon set, Spectral Cloak. This item set now increases your damage done and reduces your damage taken whenever you deal damage with Blade Cloak, rather than granting major protection for 3 seconds after casting. This fits the concept of Blade Cloak as it deals damage as well as protection. Again, these are great changes. These weapons' original versions used to have additional bonuses on them that were removed, and so with the addition of perfected sets, it didn't make a lot of sense that these didn't have an extra stat line. And it's nice to see that those that were unable to complete the vet versions will finally have a shot at these weapons as well. Lastly, in this update, we're making some small adjustments to critical resistance and healing affecting PvP specifically. Over the years, we've seen healing become quite volatile in PvP with the ability to negate a high amount of damage in just one ability cast for many players at once. This isn't just one ability that causes this type of health bar swinging, so we are making adjustments to Battle Spirit, which now reduces healing taken by 60% instead of 50%. Gearing up for PvP isn't a simple task because of the need for crit resistance. The other issue regarding itemization in PvP is that it's very limiting due to the need for building critical resistance. This means other popular traits and builds aren't as viable in PvP unless you're a glass cannon or top-end player. To bring more viable stat and set combinations into PvP play, we are now granting a baseline critical resistance. In conjunction with that change, we are making several adjustments to item sets which grant critical resistance. We are also making changes to the impenetrable trait by reducing the value. So I'm definitely not an expert on PvP, but I do enjoy it and I don't see anything wrong with these changes. I'm all about adding build diversity, and PvP already gets to have a little more build diversity than PvE, and if this can add even more, that's great. We hope these updates enhance your day-to-day adventures in ESO, and we'll see you in Tamriel. We look forward to your feedback regarding the changes above, as well as item sets and your general playtesting experience when Update 26 hits PTS next week. So overall, a great bunch of changes, right? Nothing here to complain about, right? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the responses. Wohler asks, so does this mean everyone will have to refarm their all-time favorite Maelstrom Arena? Ooh, good question, Wohler. Surely they wouldn't make us do that. Brian Wheeler responds, your current vMA and DSA weapons will not be automatically upgraded to perfected versions. Welp, they are making us do that. Way to take the focus off a great set of changes and get everybody pissed off. If you want to scroll through, there's plenty of replies, but let's take a look at a few. From Dots Gaming, I have no words for how little sense this makes. From Code, I expect most people will not like this. I can clear vMA in about half an hour. If I'm forced to refarm my weapons, I can and it won't be that painful. But I don't want to. There are things that I'd rather do than to rerun content that I've ran literally hundreds of times over the past 4.5 years. And then from Mad Powered. Bruh. So my personal opinion on it, I think it's a little unfair that the weapons we already earned doing the content on VET are going to remain the same versions as you'll get for doing normal now. It would be different if there was like a new hard mode that got the new perfected versions, but it's the same exact content. If it's just a technical thing where they can't go through and change the IDs to upgrade the items, that's fine. Just mail us a new perfected version for every previous version owned. I know they can do something like this because they did it before with the Maelstrom Sword and Shield back in the Clockwork City patch, when they made it so that you needed the pair for the set to function. For every one hand you had of the set, they sent you a shield to match it. Please do something like this. It isn't unheard of for people to run Maelstrom 40 to 50 times looking for a specific weapon that they need. That's a lot of time invested, and now you're asking us to do it again. I just think it's a bad trend to start making us regrind for gear that we already earned, and looks a lot closer to the gear grind that other MMOs have in place and goes against what ESO does well. Anyways, those are my thoughts on it. Please let me know what you guys think, and let's see if we can get Zoss enough feedback to get this figured out. To end on a little more positive note, the other ideas for the changes do seem really solid, and having to run vMA again is certainly better than dealing with the light and heavy attack changes that they proposed. Hopefully they'll listen on this one. Thank you guys for stopping in. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.